Let's talk about how to handle feedback, which is where a lot of the friction happens. The first step, which is super, super important, is that whenever it's possible, you want to present your designs in conversation. If you can, face to face in a meeting, that's amazing. If you can't do this in person, maybe you can do this in some kind of a Zoom call or some kind of a video chat. In the worst case scenario, you can do it on the phone when you're each looking at the screen of a design. But what you don't want to do is to just send them an email with some kind of a design or a big milestone and some kind of a text and expect them to get it and understand it. And this is not a good way to elicit feedback. And even if they'll take the time to write you a very long email, a lot of things will be lost in translation. So whenever it's possible, I recommend always present your design live with them. Okay, and when I talk about this, when I mean present your design, I mean big milestones where you're showing them something big for the first time. Of course, then you're going to have multiple rounds of iteration, and sometimes you'll be able to, if you've made a typo or a small change or you're sending them some updates, it's not always have to be live. You can do this on email, but for the big things, you want to be on a call with them or in a meeting with them to be able to see their reactions and understand their feedback. So that's the first step. Now let's talk about what rules or how to conduct this presentation. I always start off by saying, look, I'm going to explain to you what I did, and I'm going to show you everything. And I ask for you to hold your questions or remarks until I finish showing you everything. Okay, take notes if you need to remember. I'm going to show you everything and talk through why I did what I did. When I finish, you'll have time for your feedback. Okay, this is important because you want to show them through how you thought about this and why you did what you did. And a lot of time the presentation kind of take them through this journey and from start to finish, and at the end it makes sense. And a lot of times they'll just, but what about this? Or I'm not sure I like this. And it kind of ruins the flow of the presentation, and you start going into discussions before you even saw everything. So the first thing is, let me show you everything and then we'll talk feedback. Okay, so this is how I do this. I state this at the beginning of the meeting. This is how it's going to work, right? After I say this, you need to hold up this rule, okay? Because even though you said it, their basic, instinct is to say in the middle, because a lot of times they'll be emotional and highly engaged in what you do, right? It's their logo, it's their website, it's their thing. They want to say what they think. So I have to tell them, of course, I'm writing this, I tell them, look, please shut up. I'm not done yet. No, you don't have to say shut up. I'm just kidding. You can say, look, as I've asked, please, hold off you can say this in a whatever polite way that you want. It really depends on, who your client is and what your dialogue look like. But basically you want to tell them, look, wait, listen. And that's actually positions you as somebody who runs the meeting. So my clients actually love it when I tell them to shut up, because it shows them that there is a person here who knows how to do the job, who's been done this before, who's a professional, who runs this meeting, and they like it, that, you're in charge of the meeting. Now, when you finished, and it's time for them to give the feedback, now finish, and they were like, okay, let's hear what you have to say. Now it's your time to shut up and take notes. Okay, so now you're going to be in the same position where they're starting to say things, and you're immediately going to run to defend your own work. No, but you said that blah, blah, blah. I did this because you said, or something like this. Do not do this. Do not engage. Do not try to protect your work. Do not, just listen and write everything that they say. Okay? Do not resist or do not object. Try to understand why they're saying the thing that they say. When they say, I don't like it, ask why. Why? What's, but not why in a confronting way as if their opinion is stupid, but really try to understand. Look, we were talking in, the original strategy phase that you want to communicate health, and I've been using colors, that are communicating health. So what doesn't work for you this way? Like, why do you think this is not a good idea? Again, When you resist or when you object, this just becomes kind of a conflict of egos, and this will not lead to really understanding or improving the project. So try not to resist, really try to understand why they're saying the things that they're saying. Now, a lot of times clients will come up with the solutions, right? No, this thing should be this. No, it needs to be blue. No, you need to make it bigger. Okay, take note of that, but that's not the problem. They're suggesting a solution because there is some kind of an underlying problem. And you can tell them, okay, that's a good idea, but why do you suggest this idea? What are you trying to solve for? Okay, here you're trying to drill to understand what's the underlying problem. Okay, now the fact that you're not resisting or objecting doesn't really mean that you're going to do whatever they say that you're going to do. And if they tell you that there's a problem, you don't have to come up with a solution on the spot while you're in the meeting. You can say, okay, that's a good point. I understand. I took note. Let me think about this. Okay, and it's actually better to think about this when you're not emotional, because you're also, at the end of the day, you're a human being. And if you've been working hard on this project, you might be emotionally engaged here as well. So when they're kind of like attacking or criticizing your work, you might be annoyed, sad, depressed, angry, feeling a lot of emotions, and that's not a conductive state to coming up with creative solutions. So right now, you just need to understand the feedback and then go think about this, okay? And again, at the end of the meeting, you want to make sure that you understood them well. So I would repeat the note back to them just to make sure that I understood. And I want to tell you something. A lot of times, clients just need to vent. So the fact that they will just say something, maybe you'll go back and you'll think about some solution for some of the things, but for some of the things, the fact that they say it needs to be this way, and you go back and you relax and they relax and you say, I've been thinking about this and I still think this is the best solution, or, you suggest something else, maybe they'll be much open to it because maybe they slept on it and now they're not emotional and they just needed to vent. So the fact that you're accepting and writing everything that they said doesn't mean you have to do everything that they say, but you do want to consider it because remember, you want to work collaboratively with them. And you have to remind yourself that because you're a person, because you're also engaged, your ego is probably playing some kind of a role here as well. And you want to ask yourself, when you're not highly emotionally engaged, is your ego holding you back from doing good work for them? Is the fact that you just don't like it as a person doesn't mean that it's not good for them? Because at the end of the day, the work is not about you. It's about achieving results for them. So you need to make sure your ego steps aside and that you just get results for them.